Part 9. The Original Vampire. Author, Ludo Busroot. Chapter 81. Chapter 81 Change. The night is getting deeper. There is no moonlight in Benjian City tonight, only a little stars. Colin stood on the balcony of the Red Fort and looked away. To the north is the cold and barren sky ice field, and the east side can see the edge of the forest. In the dark forest sea, I didn't know how many beasts were hidden. Cross the dark forest, you can enter the territory of the semi-elf kingdom. The footsteps sounded, and the Cavaliers of Charles appeared behind Colin. Adult, find me. Sid. Colin turned around and pointed at the red wine glass on the table. Drink. The Chards of Charles hesitated. Adult, I'm ready to quit alcohol. It's okay, drink less, Colin insisted. The Cavaliers of Charles raised the glass and touched with Colin and sent it to her mouth. Colin drank red wine and paid attention to the reaction of Charlink. He gave Charlie's cup of red wine, which was poisonous. Of course, this is not Colin's intention to pit his own blood. It's just that he is doing an experiment. And he had experimented on blood slaves before, and found that they could be immune to toxic substances. Therefore, he feels that more high-level blood should also be avoided with toxic infringement. How about, are there any changes in the body these days? Colin put down the glass and asked. Shire put down the wine glass and reported his discovery to Colin excitedly. Through each other's narrative, Colin learned that the changes in Charles are similar to him. Cute, bloodthirsty, undead. Yes, Charles, a ruthless man who found his fingers again, began to experiment with his body. Then he found that he had completely lost his fatal injury. Of course, unlike blood slaves, Charles's pain is still there. Kalinma was thinking about his chin and was deeply thought. He now wants to know whether blood can also be promoted by taking the blood of high-end knights. However, Charles are currently a third-order knight, but Colin has no blood in the fourth-order knight in his hands to do experiments. Can you control your tiger teeth? Colin asked again. Huya, the Cavaliers of Charles puzzled, and then opened her mouth, revealing 2 unique tiger teeth. It seems, no. Kindness. Colin speculates that if the blood of the blood cannot control the extension of the tiger's teeth, I am afraid that the blood poison will not be released through the tiger teeth, and the blood slaves cannot be made. Of course, it is even more unable to carry out a complete first embrace to create the next generation of blood. Subsequently, Colin talked to the Charles Cavaliers about some cavalry construction. Seeing that the other party had always looked as usual, it was not affected by poisonous wine at all, and Colin also confirmed the fact that the blood of blood immunotherapy was toxic. Oh right, do you like hunting? Colin suddenly asked. The Cavaliers of Charles froze and nodded. I like it very much. Well, I went to hunt with the Raid Cavaliers last time this guy met a mysterious knight. He was beaten up and couldn't enjoy it. I originally planned to accompany him again, but I was too busy recently. If you are free, you have time, just accompany him to play again. After borrowing blood last time, Colin successfully promoted to the second order. However, he felt that the blood of Rieg should be promoted to the third order, so he wanted to borrow it again. But Colin didn't intend to lead Rigo to hunt on his own, which would easily cause the other parties doubt. If you go out with Colin to hunt, you will be attacked, then Rigo is just stupid and it will suspect that the attacker is likely to be related to Colin. Therefore, he intends to let the Charles Cavaliers go out of the Rider Knight. Okay, the Cavaliers of Charles had him, and he nodded naturally. After sending away the Cavaliers of Charles, Colin took the opponent's wine glass and poured the remaining poisonous wine in his mouth. Both blood slaves and blood can be immune to toxic, so it should be even more problematic. Colin thought so. Just as he felt the change of his body carefully, the footsteps sounded again, and the steward of the Iman appeared on the balcony. Master, find me. Colin nodded. Sit. The two sat down on the balcony. Colin patted his hands, let the maids recarry 2 glasses of red wine and some dried fruit. Of course, there is no poison in this wine. The maid put the things on the table lightly, and then left quickly. Do you change the servants in the castle again? Colin drank red wine and asked. No, I just replaced the personal servants around you again. This is for your safety considerations, and it doesn't cost much, Ayman explained quickly. Colin nodded and didn't say anything. The servants of the Red Forts are basically left by the Suduo family at the beginning. Colin did not intend to replace it all. After all, the recruitment of the new servants and training need to spend money. At present rough. He needs to save each money as much as possible for the critical places such as military construction. However, he also knew that the old housekeeper was out of good intentions. What is the new tax officer of Quincy? Very good. Yaiman nodded with a smile. Master, you found a very good tax officer. Well, that's good, but you have to stare at him too. I can't fully trust him now. I see. Seeing Yuman understand what he meant, Colin took his heart down and took a letter from his jacket pocket to hand it to the old housekeeper. I just received a reply from Marquis Dawn, and he agreed to provide us with war horses and armor. However, this price, a bit too high, you see that it is not suitable. Ayman looked at the reply of Marquis Dawson, and after thinking about it for a while, he said, Master, we can let Marquis Dawson provide a batch of samples if the quality of the sample is indeed as he said, it is no less than the Black Club system equipment, then this price is really not high. Well, let him send a batch of samples first. Colin rubbed his forehead, a little distressed, but the finance of our family, can we bear this expenditure now? It's difficult, Yaiman said truthfully. Seeing Colin's thoughts, Yaiman advised, Master, forgive me, is it a bit anxious to form a cavalry now? Khalil is silent. He understood that what Ayman said made it reasonable, and he was really anxious. If you wait for the last year or two, the territory will resume development and the taxation will be abundant, it may be more suitable to form a cavalry. However, Colin couldn't wait so long. He knew that the cracks between the Duke of St. Hild and the Marquis of Garcia had already occurred. Although the Marquis of Garcia does not seem to have any movement at present, it seems to endure the betrayal of his brother. But who knows what will happen to the northern border one day. At that time, the Black Cavalry will stand on the side of the Duke of St. Hilda as the same time as the previous 2 times. Therefore, Colin felt a deep crisis. He must quickly develop his power, so as not to get the qualifications of the standing team, he can only follow the flow and slaughter. Thinking of this, Colin gritted his teeth and said fiercely, we can borrow. This chapter is finished. The Original Vampire. Author, Logo Busroot. Chapter 82. Chapter 82 Borrowing, Part 1. Loan. Yes, use the future taxes of the territory as a mortgage to borrow loans from businessmen as long as the interest is appropriate. I believe that many major charges will be willing to help us. The old housekeeper's frowning was deeply frowned, and he was a little hesitant to this decision of Colin. In the cognition of people in this world, lending is not a glorious thing. Especially for a nobleman. This is almost announced to everyone. I am very lacking. This is a very decent thing for nobles who value reputation. Unless it is a critical juncture that is about to go bankrupt, no aristocratic master will borrow money from others. Master, this may affect the reputation of the Angle family, the old housekeeper persuaded. The reputation is virtual. Colin waved his hand, looking at it. For a passenger such as him, borrowing money for development is really a matter of nature. In fact, those nobles who would rather be borrowed were the real fool to Colin. It is a clever thing to develop your own strength with others' money. Even if the worst situation happens, the loan will not be on, but as long as the army of the Angra family develops smoothly, is it still afraid that people will come to the door to call debt? Okay, I have decided tomorrow you will release the news at that time, we will organize a rally to invite some powerful chambers of commerce to discuss the details of borrowing loans. Yes, Master Ing did not dare to talk more when seeing Khalil's heart. The next day, when the news of the Viscount Angeli was about to land, a group of businessmen flocked to Benjian City as if the shark that smelled the bloody smell. Just when these merchants rubbed their palms and were about to grab this order, a businessman came to the Red Fort first to ask the Viscount Angle. Colin was not ready to meet any businessman alone. In his opinion, only when these businessmen gather together and let them compete, can they get the best loan conditions. However, when the servant told him that the person was Oliver, the Classen Chamber of Commerce, Colin still agreed with the other party's request. After all, he was an old acquaintance, and although Oliver had offended Colin, his later apology was also sincere. In Colin's view, this is a person who knows and can do things. Dear Viscount, thank you for taking time to see me in your busy schedule, I feel very honored. The fat merchant was still the charming smiley face. When he saw Colin, he immediately bent his waist into 90 degrees, and his attitude was extremely respectful. Okay, Oliver, you don't have to go to me, I also know what you want. Let's talk about the conditions of your Tulip Chamber of Commerce if it is appropriate, I don't mind it, Borrow. Oliver said with a smile, Master Viscount, please rest assured with the past friendship, our Tulip Chamber of Commerce will definitely give you the best loan conditions. However, before that, please give me a gift first. Celebrate your enthusiasts. Gift, Colin smiled suddenly. He remembered that the gift of this fat merchant last time was a set of armor for his forgiveness. So what is the gift this time? One thing Colin is convinced. Oliver's gift is definitely not as what he said, but to celebrate his promotion. This is simply a bribe. What gift? Colin sneered in his heart. If Oliver thinks that a small gift can give him the borrowing list to the Tulip Chamber of Commerce, it will be too underestimated. Oliver beckoned behind him. The two servants carried a large box and walked up. The box was opened, and a frosty atmosphere of people rushed. It turned out to be a set of enchanting armor. And it was the one that Colin had asked the price but could not afford it. I remember that the price of this set of enchanting armor is 50,000 gold coins, right? Yes, Master Viscount. Are you sure to give it to me like this? Let me make it clear first, even if I accept your armor and loan, it may not necessarily take care of your Tulip Chamber of Commerce. Of course, Master Viscount, this set of armor is just a celebration of your promotion of Viscount, there is no other meaning, and it has nothing to do with the loan. Clinton suddenly puzzled. There is no free lunch in the world. He has always believed in this sentence. How could Oliver give him such a great gift? You know, 50,000 gold coins are definitely not a small number. When the Angle family was still the Baron, the entire babies led the entire year's tax revenue for only 3,000 gold coins. Even if it becomes the Viscount now, the territory has expanded several times, but Colin estimates that the entire Viscount's one-year income will not exceed 30,000 gold coins. Speak, who gave this gift? Collins could not believe that Oliver's Business Association's management affairs could have the right to decide this matter. Thinking of the person behind the Tulip Chamber of Commerce, Colin suddenly realized something. At this time, Oliver also converged with a smile, and his tone became solemn. Master Viscount, don't conceal you, this gift was given to you by the chairman of our Chamber of Commerce. Who are you? Hearing this question, Oliver did not answer immediately, but looked around, looking mysteriously. Colin waved his hand, and said to the surrounding servants, you all go down. There are only Colin and Oliver in the lobby. The fat businessman said again, Master Viscount, the chairman of our Tulip Chamber of Commerce, M.S. Penny. M.S. Penny, Colin thought for a while before finally found a corresponding name from his memory. This is not the biological mother of Khalil, the brother-in-law of the unidentified whereabouts, is the lover of the Count Uman. Clinton suddenly wary, Why did Ms. Penny give me such a gift? Oliver leaned over his head. This is the lady's apology for you. What do you mean? Colin narrowed his eyes. The Vala Cavaliers have successfully returned to the Phelan Eagle City, but after all, he has fought with your father after all, but he failed to protect Master Baron. Therefore, Ms. Penny said to her son the most sincere apology. Hearing his long-disappeared brother-in-law suddenly appeared in the Felling City, Colin's eyes began to flash a dangerous light. He tried his best to control his anger, and asked lightly, "Is the Vala Cavaliers okay? Where did he go before?" "Master Cavaliers are all fine. He was captured by the trolls in the previous battle. Later, after the Black Cavalry caught up with the giant dragon army, he was thrown on the ice field with other human captives. After thousands of hardships, he returned to the north again." This chapter is finished. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Original Vampire. Author, Lugo Busroot. Chapter 83. Chapter 83 Borrowing, Part 2. Captured by a troll? Then fled back again? Colin does not believe this kind of speech. In his opinion, after the death of his dad, the guy Walla was afraid he fled back alone, and brought the news of the death of the Baron. This caused the greed of Earl Uman, trying to conspiracy to kill the Colin and seize the title of the Angra family. Now, what does Penny suddenly send such a gift to Colin through the Tulip Chamber of Commerce? Is it deliberate provocation? Still, seeing that Colin had successfully inherited the title and was valued by the Duke of St. Hilda, he felt that he couldn't do it anymore, so he began to show it. Do you know about this incident? No. Colin shook his head secretly, and felt that the Count Uman would not know that his lover gave Colin such a gift. Because this move is too wise to Colin. After all, Colin is just suspecting that the Uman family has tried to assassinate himself without any evidence. Not to tell others. Therefore, Ms. Penny's move seemed to be very guilty. As for celebrating the promotion of the Viscounts of Colin, or apologizing for his father's death, this is a detention of deceiving ghosts. 5,000 coins. This is definitely not a small number. Celebrate or apologize, do you need so much blood? With the old spicy and insidiousness that Earl Earman's previous manifestation, Colin felt that the Count would never make such a move. Colin sneered secretly. Although he had never seen this lover of Count Uman, he had already tagged her in his heart. Hey, Ms. Penny is interested in this case, I will accept it. Colin showed a sad expression. But this sadness was immediately replaced by the city. However, can the armor be exchanged for gold coins? Clade, Oliver was ready to speak polite words, but now he suspects that his ears have something wrong. Isn't this set of enchanting armor worth 50,000 gold coins? Colin asked naturally. Right. Then I don't want armor, just give me 50,000 gold coins. Oliver stood up for a long time, and saw that Colin was seriously joking, and he nodded with constipation. If you persist, I can help you exchange it with gold coins. Colin laughed and clapped. Okay, thank you for Ms. Penny. Although replacing the gifts sent by others with gold coins, it is still impolite and very decent. But Colin doesn't care now. The expensive cost of forming a cavalry made him want to sell him all. At this moment, it is rare to have a silly woman to send such a great gift. Of course, he cannot easily let it go. What's more, with his immortal characteristics of his blood, the enchanting armor is not very useful at all, at most it is just looking at the wind. How can there be gold coins? Okay, I must convey it for you. Oliver was speechless to the Viscount, who did not follow the routine. But he took a deep breath and asked, Master Viscount, do you want to listen to the conditions of our Tulip Chamber of Commerce? Talk about it just getting a huge sum of money from 50,000 gold coins. Colin is now in a good mood. If the loan conditions of the Tulip Chamber of Commerce are reasonable, he is ready to sign a contract directly on the face of this great gift. Oliver cleared his throat and solemnly, Master Viscount, our tulips can provide you with a maximum of 300,000 gold coins, with an annual interest rate of 8% and a period of 10 years tax revenue in the next 10 years. Colin had previously inquired about the relevant information about the housekeeper Yemen on this world loan. After hearing the conditions of the Tulip Chamber of Commerce, he immediately knew that the other party did not make excessive requirements. In fact, the quota of 300,000 gold coins has exceeded the expectations of Colin. With such a huge amount, he can even arm 1,000-person cavalry. Okay, Mr. Oliver, you can go back to prepare a loan document, I can sign at any time. Yes, Master Viscount, happy cooperation. We will definitely cooperate very well. Colin strode towards Oliver, holding hands with the other party affectionately. Smile with a good smile. After the night fell, the forest in the suburbs of Benjian City became more dangerous. Many beasts start their own hunting under the cover of the night. Therefore, the light of fire has become the best self-defense weapon in the forest. Beside the burning bonfire, the Riego Cavaliers were eating barbecue with Charles and laughed loudly. There are more than 10 accompanying guards around. The hunting this time was smooth. Without encountering any strange people, the Raig Knight was very satisfied. After eating and drinking, after another northern earth, the Raig Knight bid farewell to the Cavaliers of Charles, drilled into his tent, and was ready to rest. The bonfire was not extinguished, and there were 2 night guards in the camp. The night was getting stronger, and the moon tonight hid behind the cloud ashamed, making the forest darker. Is there any movement? A duty guard suddenly asked his companion. The companion, who was about to fall asleep, barely opened his eyes and surprised, "What's wrong?" "I seem to hear that there is movement over there." "It is estimated that what wildcats are, ask the taste of food residue." "I gonna go see." "Stay away from the bonfire and walk towards the direction of the sound." The companion behind him rubbed his eyes, stretched his waist, and then turned back to find that the guards who went to check the situation were gone. He was frightened and was screaming, but found that his mouth was covered by people behind him. Well, the back of the brain was severely hit, and the guard fell to the ground. A thin figure wearing a steel mask appeared behind the guard. She found the Cavaliers' camp and drilled in. The sleeping knight suddenly felt a little moved around. He sat up alertly, but found that there was no one in front of him. Just when he was relieved and was about to sleep again, there was a broken sound of the air behind his head. Well, the Raig Knight suddenly passed. Nympho. Rago Cavaliers, Raig Cavaliers. The Cavaliers opened his eyes in a staggerly, and saw the Shire Cavaliers a little anxious. He sat up instantly and yelled, "Damn, someone stole the camp last night." "Yes, the 2 people are also fainted." "The Raig Knight, are you okay?" Hissing Rege felt a faint pain in his back. "I won't be the guy again last time." The mysterious night last time. Charles also heard about the last encounter of Lego. Sympathy was a little puzzled. "Why do she come to you?" "How do I know?" Renge murmured uncomfortably. At this time, he saw that his wrist was entangled in a bandage, and he wondered, "What happened to my hand?" "Oh, when we came in, I found that your hand was cut, so I bandaged you." The Cavaliers of the Rigo shook his wrist, and felt that it was not a big deal, and he didn't take it to heart. He stood up, and suddenly felt dizzy, and he roared depressedly. "We immediately return to the city. This time I will take the army to search. I don't believe that the damn female knight." This chapter is finished. The Original Vampire. Author, Lugo Busroot. Chapter 84. Chapter 84 Training. Outside Benjian City, the sound of horseshoe is rumbling. The sound of the bowstring continued to sound, accompanied by the scolding of the officers. State, posture, don't patronize aiming, pay attention to keeping your posture. Tom, I'm talking about you, damn it, is your waist broken? And you, Jerry? Nympho. It looks pretty good, it looks like it. Colin looked at the first batch of cavalry under his men was training the scene of riding and shooting. Just have a shelf, they are still far away. The charlinker on the side was obviously dissatisfied. Colin haha smiled, after all, it is a recruit, you can't use the Black Club standard to ask them now, it can be done in just 1 month. I am very satisfied with it, you are doing well. You have won the prize, this is mainly due to your strong support. The words of Charlie are not completely inquiring. Colin's support for this cavalry is indeed unreasonable. It is necessary to give people, money for money, and equipment for equipment. The newly loaned huge sums of money are spent, as if it is completely without the concept of saving. The housekeeper Yemen was shocked and persuaded a few words from time to time. But Colin is still doing it. In his opinion, only the money spent can really generate value. Moreover, as some famous entrepreneur said, the money did not really spend it, but to accompany you with another way. The former Colin sneered at this sentence, but now, looking at the batch of flying cavalry in front of him, he deeply agreed. Is there a problem with the source of the military? I saw that you only recruited more than 300 people now after getting a huge loan. Colin raised the scale of cavalry set from 100 people to 1,000. Master Viscount, the first batch of recruits should not be too much. After more people, the training effect will drop significantly. Okay, just have a lot of you in your heart. Collins did not interfere with the training of the Charles Cavaliers too much. He knew that professional things had to be handed over to professional people to do it. He really didn't know about the training of cavalry. But the Black Cavaliers' Share Knight is an expert in this area. A few days ago, the Cavaliers of the Lego told me, did you grab a lot of high-quality recruits? As soon as Charles Cavaliers wanted to explain, they saw Colin wave and continued. Don't be nervous, I don't blame you. I have made it clear that the cavalry has the priority on recruiting recruits. I'm just weird, why don't you pick the veterans under the Mago, but go to the recruits with him? Master Viscount, although the soldiers of the Rider Knight are indeed very good, their bodies are strong, and their training is high, they are infantry after all. Suitable. What about the recruits? What kind of recruits are worth letting you grab it with Rieg? Is it a captive who escaped from the Sky Ice Field? Captive? Yes, it was the captives that the trolls were taken away when the trolls invaded the north later, when the Marquis of Garcia led the army to catch up with the giant army. The captives of these batch of more than 50,000 people were not by the trolls. It was abandoned on the ice field. During this time, many captives have successfully returned alive. Colin was suddenly, and he also understood why these escorted captives were scrambled by Lego and Shire at the same time. Because these people have been strictly screened, the remaining real warriors. First of all, the first round of screening was made by a giant. When they took the captives, they would definitely not choose the old, weak, and disabled, but to pick youthful and strong, so that they could be used as a labor force. The second round of screening began with the abandoned by the captives by the giant army on the ice field. This is a more cruel and rigorous round of screening. This is not only a strong body, but also a certain wisdom and courage to survive in severe cold and hunger. After all, when the trolls abandon them, they will not leave their GRA for them. Therefore, the only way these captives can get food is hunting. However, there are not many wild animals on the ice field. If these 50,000 people gather together, then even if all the animals in the area are caught, so many people are not enough to stuff their teeth. Therefore, at this time, smart people must make a choice. It seems safe to follow the large team, but it is actually just waiting for death. Only by forming a small group and far away from the large army can we get enough food to fill the stomach through hunting. In fact, from these days, the captive teams that have arrived in Binjian City have indeed been a small team with less than 100 people. There are more people, I am afraid they have starved to death on the ice field. If there are fewer people, it will be dangerous when encountering a fierce beast. As a result, these captives who had escaped from the ice field naturally became the fragrant incense in Charles and Lego. Especially in each small team, the core people are the seeds of soldiers with excellent decisive ability and excellent organizational ability. Therefore, when Charles' Cavaliers promised to give him priority for his priority, and after pulling these people into the cavalry team, the Rogue Knight inevitably complained to Colin. "There is no way, this big knight is too eye-catching." But regardless of his eyes, Colin will not change the established strategy. The cavalry is always the arms that he has to develop priority. In this cold weapon era, the deterrent of a powerful cavalry is terrible. Especially in the plain terrain such as the north and the sky. Unless the infantry hid in the city, the cavalry will always be the master of the battlefield. Nympho. After inspecting the training of cavalry, Colin also ran to the training venue of the infantry. After all, it should not be too thick. After a huge loan, the scale of the infantry also increased from the 1,000 people set by the original to 3,000 people. At present, this preparation has not been full, and only about half recruits. According to the estimation of M.O. Ben's brothers, 1 month should be full 1 month, and then practice for about 3 months to have preliminary combat effectiveness. Although not a elite, it can also be on the battlefield. After a few fighting baptisms, the survival is the elite. The speed of the infantry forming is so fast, in contrast, the cavalry is too slow. According to Charles's estimates, the cavalry will be able to achieve the level of barely on the battlefield, and it will take 1 year as soon as possible. This is still thanks to the outstanding instructors of Charles from the Black Army. If Colin comes to work, it is estimated that the drums will not be able to achieve 3 years and 5 years. When inspecting the infantry, Colin also saw a depressed Rego Knight. The big knight has been a bit irritable recently, and as soon as he is free, he trains the forests of the recruits to the outskirts of the city. Of course, Colin knew that this guy was to let these recruits help him search for the mysterious knight who had attacked him by sneaking over his mysterious knights. However, the Rogue Knight is destined to be unable to revenge. Blood slave Zendaya is usually hidden in the basement of the Red Castle by Colin. After borrowing 2 blood with the Cavaliers of Rieg, Colin has also successfully promoted the Third Order. If such a speed is known by outsiders, I am afraid I will call the Corinthians. After inspecting the training of the infantry, Colin returned to the Red Castle. After drinking a glass of deer blood wine, I fell asleep again. The life of Colin's hand shopkeeper was very moisturizing. However, his leisurely time was quickly interrupted. I saw the housekeeper hurriedly found and reported. "Master, Icefield comes up with a giant demon team." "Giant?" Colin suddenly tightened. "How many people have they come?" "There are more than 100 people, who claims to be the messenger of the Winter City, pass through Bingian City, and want to meet you." "Messenger?" Colin was relieved. I thought about the cheeks for a moment, and Colin nodded. "Well, then I will see this giant messenger." There is another chapter at night. This chapter is finished. The Original Vampire. Author, Lugo Busroot. Chapter 85. Chapter 85. Under the guidance of the housekeeper Iman, a young troll came through the long corridor and came to the inner court of Red Castle. This giant seemed to be the first time to enter the human castle and looked around curiously along the way. Iman stopped outside a room and made a slight posture for the young giant devil. "Okay," the troll smiled slightly. The whole collar was pushed in. The Colin in the door just raised his head, but didn't get up, just laughed. "Welcome to your arrival, Mr. Messenger, please sit." "Dear Master Angeli, thank you for your hospitality." The young giant did not care about Colin's rudeness, and still smiled. The maid walked in lightly, sent a cup of coffee to the table in front of the troll, and retreated again. "Try it, the coffee treasured by the Suduo family." Colin made a gesture. "This is the one they left, the few can make me like it. The troll first took the mark cup, closer to the nose, sniffed it a few times, and then sent the entrance, closed his eyes, and slowly reflected. In the whole process, elegant and calm, it seems that he is a high monster nobleman at a high position. The thick fruit's fragrance, rough and unrestrained acidity, this should be the fine Yerga coffee produced in the Hidemo area. Colin froze, apparently did not expect that the giant was a coffee expert. You are really amazing, you can taste it. Although he didn't know what the troll said, he couldn't be timid at this time. Colin immediately pretended to be a look of himself. At the same time, the belly is slandering, didn't it say that the giants just knew the rammed goods of killing and killing? Why is this so installed in front of you? The young man took another sip of coffee, and there was a trace of nostalgia in the reserved expression. More than 1,000 years ago, the Hidemo area still belongs to the territory of our family. Oh, now the product is really the taste of the hometown. Colin was shocked and curious. I haven't asked your name yet. The young troll stood up and performed a standard human aristocratic ceremony. My name is Akamoto Folkin, the son of Gamey Walken, the prince of the southern prince of the giant empire. Oh. Colin, who was drinking coffee, spit out. Keek, I'm sorry, I got it. Colin picked up his handkerchief, and wiped the water stains on his body, and did not let the other party see the smile that could not be concealed on his face. Akamoto. Why don't you call Durex? After wiping, Colin finally controlled his face expression and sat back again. Although Akamoto wondered why Colin was suddenly out of mind after hearing his name, he was not embarrassed. I did not expect that. It turned out that His Royal Highness himself came out of the north. It was really neglect and neglected. Colin said neglecting, but his body still leaned on the back of the chair loosely, and he felt that the giant demon prince on the opposite side was not put in his eyes. Of course, Akamoto will not be angry, at least not showing. After all, the loser's anger is completely meaningless in front of the victor. No, this is what I should do. Over the years, there have been more and less battles between the giant empire and the northern border, which leads to heavy losses on both sides. Every time I think of those compatriots who died on the front line, I will feel heartache. Why? Presumably you, and the Duke of St. Hilda, like me, don't want to see the war again and continue. Therefore, this time I came to the north, with longing for peace, longing for the friendship between the two parties. Akamoto was still impassioned there, and Colin had understood the other person's intention. Don't look at the grand stunner of the new southern prince of the giant demon empire. What do not want to see the war continues. In fact, you can't fight, come and ask for peace. Kalinma was holding his chin, thinking that the Duke of St. Hyber would agree with the other party's request. Now the TRHZE is destroyed by the World War I, and it is no longer unable to resist the invasion of the North. Will the Duke give up? Even if the Sky Iceland has no value, it can take this opportunity to go to the giant demon empire to plunder it, so as not to let the other party take a good rest. Just when the god of Colin was swimming out of the sky, a name emerged from Akamoto, suddenly pulled him back. What, Vera, you just said Miss Villa. When he heard Vera's name, Clintz immediately returned. Yes. Akamoto lowered his head and said deeply. In front of him, the Viscount was rude to himself a few times, and he was about to control his inner anger. But he took a deep breath, resumed his smile, and explained patiently. I just said that I heard that Miss Villa, the Duke's adopted daughter, was about to hold an adult ceremony. Therefore, I also prepared a gift by the way, and wanted to take this opportunity to get to know Miss Vera. Colin narrowed his eyes, and he sensitively noticed. Oh, really? I also received an invitation letter from Miss Willa's adult gift 2 days ago. Then tomorrow we will go to the Winter City together. It's my pleasure. Speaking of this, Colin has been vigilant about the young man's prince. Because he felt that the other party might be playing Vera's idea. Is this guy coming to peace or dear? Just as Colin was preparing to make a guest order, Prince Akamoto suddenly noticed the Blade of Judgment hanging on the wall. He stared up for a long time, and his eyes flashed in his eyes. "Master Viscount," asked the Knight Sword, "is the Knight Sword the Blade of Trial?" "Yes, that was the Duke's giving me when I was granting." The expression on Prince Akamoto's face suddenly became strange. There are envy, respect, and a trace of sympathy. Just when Colin felt that the prince looked at his eyes was a little wrong, Prince Akamoto suddenly smiled and said, "Master Viscount, I don't know if you have heard of His Royal Highness Orthwalken." "Otto," Colin shook his head. He has never heard of this name, but he knows that this is also a giant monster royal family. "His Royal Highness Orth is my uncle and the northern prince of the giant demon empire. Recently, I just successfully entered the Holy Realm." Colin frowned. I don't know why the other party suddenly mentioned this, but he still congratulated him. "Oh, isn't it? That is really congratulations. The David Empire finally had another sacred warrior." "Yeah, after a period of a century, the Empire finally gave birth to another holy warrior." Akamoto's smile became bright. "However, after successfully promoting the Holy Realm successfully, the uncle will soon say that he will soon be with Judgment of the Trial Blade. The owner will make another duel. One of the shame of Her Majesty, the Emperor Leo." Collins was dumbfounded. "Is a holy warrior looking for him? Does the Duke of St. Hilda throw this sword to him at first?" Skyfall. This chapter is finished. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Original Vampire. Author, Ludo Busroot. Chapter 86. Chapter 86 Winter City. The giant messenger stayed in Bingian City for only one day, and continued to go to the Winter City. Colin also set off with them. This time, he went to the Winter City, and he only brought the Riego Cavaliers and 100 guards. The Cavaliers and Raymond Cavaliers were left in Bingian City and continued to practice. He also gave it to Iman and Quincy's full power to deal with the affairs. Originally, her sister Caitlin also had to follow, but after hearing that her long-lost husband finally had the news, she ran to the Eagle City. Colin did not stop. He is not sure if his sister has participated in the incident of murdering himself. So, let's go. Anyway, he will find the Iman family to settle the account sooner or later. Now it is only insufficient evidence, and the strength is not enough. However, he already had an excellent pawn, and when the time was mature, he reported the revenge of the year. And this chess piece, Bloodlindia, was also brought out by Colin this time. It is far away from 1,000 meters behind the team. Colin found that he can currently issue orders for blood slaves in the range of 3 kilometers, and no matter how far, he will lose contact. On the way to the Winter City, the Prince of the Troll often got together to Colin, and his attitude was quite enthusiastic. But Colin's attitude is a little perfunctory. Once, he feels that the other party may be able to sting Vera. Secondly, the news of the Holy Warrior to find him duel also made him quite unhappy. However, Colin was not too worried about this. After all, when the giant sage warrior said that sentence, it was obviously the Duke of St. Hilda. It was not Colin who cut off the head of the previous giant emperor, although he now became the owner of the Blade of Judgment. But a holy warrior, if he came to a third-order knight duel, it would really become a laughingstock in the world. Presumably the holy warrior couldn't afford this person. As for the time, who is going to deal with the sanctuary strong, it is not a matter of worrying about Colin. It is estimated that Duke St. Hilda should not play in person, because that is simply looking for death. In Colin's memory, there is no paladin in the north. But there is a glorious empire, and there are two. The sacred warriors of the giant demon empire came to the door. Presumably the two paladins would not ignore it. Anyway, there is nothing about the little dweller of Colin. Prince Akamoto had just wanted to scare Colin to retaliate against Colin's contempt and rudeness. Colin will naturally not give this giant messenger a good face, even if the other party is expensive as the prince. The loser is the loser. After experiencing that battle in person and witnessing the Black Club to kill pigs, after killing the 300,000 trunks, it would be difficult for Colin to look at the biggest enemy in the north. Prince Akamoto didn't care about the coldness of Colin. Perhaps it was already mentally prepared, and the prince's posture was very low. All kinds of attentive care of Colin along the way, as if it was really a Colin's servant. This aroused Colin's wishes. This Prince Akamoto will not be a type of gossip type, right? On the surface, he served the enemy to reduce his threat, but he actually tried his courage and secretly accumulated the power of revenge. Colin secretly was vigilant and began to think about how to destroy the other party's conversation. It can't make the trolls relieve his breath. Nympho. The speed of the team is not fast. After 8 days, it arrived in Winter City. Colin had been to the central city in the north, but every time he came, it was deeply shocked by it. Winter City is based on a mountain. As if a giant beast, looking down at the entire north. The magnificent city wall of more than 30 meters is located on the middle of the mountain. And the whole year of the clouds standing on the top of the clouds, it was the castle of the St. Hilda family, the Lion Roast. It is said that this is the highest altitude of the entire northern border, and even the entire glorious empire. It is difficult to imagine how much it costs to build it in order to build it. The towering city made everyone a little speechless for a while. Especially those giants have never seen such miracle-like buildings, and they have a fearful expression on their faces. Listen to my roar, that's the anger from the kingdom of heaven. Akamoto looked at the magnificent castle standing high in the clouds, and couldn't help reading the clan language of the St. Hilda family. When I heard this sentence before, the Triad Prince was still disappointing. No matter how powerful the St. Hilda family is, it is not qualified to put the word heaven into the clan. But now he understands. Anyone who lives in that castle and looks down at all sentient beings will inevitably produce the illusion that he is the spokesperson of the gods in the world. I don't know if I remembered the horror scene of the Black Riding Army's cluster, and Prince Akamoto couldn't help shaking. Colin admired the fear of the giants, and could not help raising a pride that belonged to the north. Please, His Royal Highness Akamoto. Oh, okay, you will ask you first. Prince Akamoto's waist seems to be bent lower than before. The group came up the mountain and came to the gate of the mountainside. The closer the distance, the more you can feel the huge sense of oppression emitted by the city. As if there was a male lion entangled in the mountains, watching everyone coldly. At this time, there was a long line at the gate of the city, and the people entering the city were waiting for inspection. However, as a noble, Colin does not need to line up. When the banner of the Roar White Bear came out, the crowd quickly separated to both sides, giving a passage to the Colin and his party. The giants also stained the light of Colin and followed the gate of the city. However, for them, the people around them are not very friendly. If they are not behind Colin, they make the people think that this is the captive or slave of the Violet, and maybe someone has already rushed to beat them. When I came to the gate of the city, the guard's attitude towards Colin was very attentive. After confirming his identity, he immediately released it. The treatment of the giants is completely different. Even if Prince Akamoto had taken out his identity proof and the signing letter signed by the giant emperor, the guards still asked dongs and west. They even searched their luggage repeatedly, and turned all the things inside, freely, and the attitude was extremely bad. Colin looked at the side with a smile, and there was no idea of helping to help. The attitude of many giants was furious, and it had reached the edge of the outbreak. But the guards not only did not converge, but instead stimulated it, as if Baba could not take the initiative to provoke, and then they had reason to kill these trolls. Prince Akamoto kept a smile from beginning to end, and looked like he was insulting. he explained patiently no matter how difficult the guards made. His restraint also calmed the other trolls. Seeing that the giants were advancing like this, they gradually lost their interest and waved their hands to let them enter the city. "Viscount, sorry to let you wait for a long time. The guards of your country are too dedicated." Colin looked at each other's smiley face. Although he knew it was fake, he still had to admire the endurance of the other party. This young man prince is indeed a person. When he was about to greet Prince Akamatos entering the city, a slight commotion suddenly appeared at the entrance of the city. Colin looked up, and saw a half-elf team appearing outside the gate. This chapter is finished. The Original Vampire. Author, Logo Busroot. Chapter 87. Chapter 87 Half-Elf. Human beings are actually a very special existence in this world. Because they do not have reproductive isolation with any other race. If you think about it, this is indeed a wonderful thing. A giant demon and an elven cannot give birth to offspring. But human beings can give birth to offspring, whether they follow the trolls or the elves. Therefore, some human scholars have declared based on this human race is a race of God. Regarding this claim, other ethnic groups have stated that this is completely nonsense. But no matter what, only the people can combine with any other race, which is an iron fact. The descendants of the human race and the elves are generally called a semi-elf. The descendants of the orcs are generally called a semi-orc. The descendants of the giants are generally called a semi-troll. However, the most combined race in this world is the elves. After all, the elves are more in line with human aesthetics. And races such as the orcs, giants, naga, and goblin, in addition to the unique warriors of individual flavors, few people have to go to their mouths. Therefore, there are very few creatures with semi-orcs and semi-giant devils. But there are many semi-elf. They have even formed a new group and established a kingdom. In the elves retreating into the Huia forest, the people of the human race scratched the most fertile land in the center of the mainland, and firmly suppressed the era of other ethnic groups. And because between the northern and east of the empire, the relationship between the semi-elf kingdom and the Sanhilder family is also long. Therefore, it is not strange that they appear in the Winter City. But Khalil could involuntarily remembers the words that Duke Saint Hilda talked to him when he left Benjian City. He always felt that the Duke seemed to have some thoughts on the semi-elves. Could it be that these semi-elf came to the Winter City at this time? Is it also the Duke's plan? It was the Silver Month Guard of the semi-elf kingdom. It seems that there are members of the semi-elf royal family in this team. When I heard Akamoto's words, Colin nodded. In fact, he did not recognize the badge on the semi-elf's guard armor. After all, he used to be the son of a rural baron before, and he has never seen the exclusive guard of the semi-elf king. And for the semi-elf kingdom, he does not seem to have much useful information in his predecessor. Only the name of the semi-elf king was found from the memory, and the king of the semi-elf is located. The rest of the memory is a bunch of rumors about semi-elf beauties. At this point, the semi-elf team had come to the gate of the city. A young and beautiful semi-elf came out, and came to the guard to hand over a badge and an invitation letter. The beauty of the semi-elf is famous in this world, otherwise it is impossible to overcome a new race with humans. At first glance, the young half-elven was born in the big nobleman. The reserved, proud, and elegant grace is simply the exclusive label of the children of the big nobles. It is impossible for the general nobles to cultivate. She is tall and wears an elegant white robe, like silk, long hair like a silky hair hanging straight from head to her waist. She has a pair of amber eyes, exquisite nose, sharp ears, and throat knot. Depend on. Colin was awakened at this time. This guy is actually a man. Just as Colin also secretly talked crazy, Akamoto seemed to recognize the semi-elf. He should be the second prince of the semi-elf kingdom, Tupmi-Iden. You know him? Akamoto shook his head. Don't know. However, this is not difficult to guess. Colin rolled his eyes and knew that the prince of the troll was ready to install again. However, he just didn't ask how did you guess. Just don't let this giant be like your wish. Akamoto waited for a while, and did not wait for Colin's question. It was not embarrassing, smiled slightly, and explained himself. Those who are eligible to represent the semi-elf royal family to participate in the Miss Willa's adult gift must be a member of the Maedwin family today. There are only 2 sons of the semi-elf king not up. Therefore, it is only the second prince. Oh, Colin responded lightly. Colin's cold response did not let Akamoto shut up, but even more torrential. Voice-in-law, do you know, this Prince Tup was actually not born from the semi-elves, but adopted. Colin was a little interested. Because he thought of Vera is also the daughter of the Duke. Is this bizarre story hidden in the life of Prince Tupi? However, he still ignored Akamoto. Just don't let you pretend. But Akamoto seems to be in a hurry to install. You might be curious, why the semi-elven king has to adopt another son when he has a son. Colin kept holding up. Akamoto said again and continued, actually, this is the request of Queen Half-Elf. Because the current queen of the semi-elf was married after the death of the previous queen. But at that time, King Half-Elf was close to 70 years old. Such an old age, even if the new queen is beautiful, he can't make her conceive her child. Therefore, it is said that to make up for the regret of the new queen, the king adopted a child from the family of the new queen as the son of the new queen. This is His Royal Highness. Colin blinked, and had to admire the giant prince around him, so he knew the gossip of the semi-elf royal family so much. Therefore, this giant has a capital of times. Just as Colin was about to inquire about some gossip with Prince Akamoto, the semi-elf aristocracy had entered the city. He saw the Colin's team go straight back. After some introduction, Colin found that Prince Akamoto guessed was right. It is really the second prince. After a 3-person polite, he walked to the Lion Roar Castle on the top of the mountain. The higher the go, the thinner the building, the less pedestrians. Obviously, the people living around the Lion Roar Fort are either rich or expensive, and ordinary civilians will not come to this height at all. About 2 hours later, everyone finally came to Lion Roar Castle. The first thing that came into view was the huge golden lion statue standing in front of the castle. The anger and roaring gesture gave a strong visual shock. There are 5 layers in this huge castle, arranged in conical, and increased layer by layer. The door of the castle is open. In addition to the full armed guards, there is an old man dressed as a housekeeper. After seeing the Colin and his party, the old housekeeper walked out of the door and bowed slightly, showing an impeccable smile, and said clearly, "Welcome to Lion Roar Fort. There is another chapter at night. This chapter is finished." The Original Vampire. Author, Lugo Busroot. Chapter 88. Chapter 88 Reunion. Under the leadership of the attendant, Colin came to his room in the Lion Roast. It is inevitable to travel all the way. Colin naturally takes a bath first and changing clean clothes. This is also the respect for the first family in the north. As soon as he changed his clean nobles, the door was knocked. Colin thought that the waiter had always called him to eat, but it was still too early at this moment. Before that, the housekeeper told him that there would be a banquet tonight. Curious, Colin opened the door. Then, his face flashed amazing. Outside the door, it was Villa, who hadn't seen it for a long time. Today, Vera wore a red velvet jacket, and the golden and waist-long hair was still with the silk water vapor. It should have just been bathed for a long time. The fair skin is exuding a moving blush, and it seems that the LSP of Colin is too hot. "It's been a long time, Miss Villa." "It's been a long time," Colin the female mage smiled slightly, revealing 2 faint dimples, and looked extremely cute. "You should come to Lion Roar for the first time." Yes, Colin nodded honestly. Wei La smiled and turned around and beckoning to Colin, let's go, let me take you around. Okay, Miss Guide. Gig. The crisp laughter echoed on the promenade, and Vera's figure had disappeared into the corner. Colin closed the door and followed the faint rose flower fragrance and chased it. This is the vestibule. There were many osmanthus trees, but my father thought that their aroma was too strong, so I changed it all. Here is a tower. When I was a kid, I liked climbing up. I could see afar away, but my father always said that girls should not climb so high. There are kitchens and warehouses over there. When they were a kid, when they played and found with Charles and Adams, I liked to hide there. They couldn't find me, haha. But every time the old housekeeper is angry, always saying that this is not a place for ladies, as old as his father. There is a garden over there, my favorite place. There is a church over there. Nympho. Vera seemed to be a snoring bird, kept introducing everything about the Lion Rohrberg to Colin, and her beautiful memories that she had stayed in these places. Along with her complaint, Colin seemed to see the naive and cute little girl. Here, I was the most afraid of when I was a kid. Vera's voice suddenly lowered. Colin also felt the atmosphere around him seemed dignified. He followed Villa into a courtyard deep in the castle, and then he froze. Actually, he shot him with a substantial look, so that he could not move at all. Raising, Colin suddenly found that the masters of these eyes turned out to be a huge statue. These are the paladins in the history of the St. Hilda family. Wei Ryer looked serious and his tone became solemn. Paladin. Colin was suddenly stunned, no wonder there was such a compression. After a hurry, Colin found that there were a total of 12 statues here. In other words, for more than 1,000 years, a total of 12 paladins have been born. They are the guarantee of the strong family and the embodiment of its noble descent. It is the source of this supreme glory. At the same time, Colin also noticed that the eyes of the statues of the paladins seemed to have been carefully designed, all looked at the same direction, the gate of the courtyard. The person who just came in was caught off guard, and he endured so many gaze eyes. Even if it was a statue, it was enough to make the timid people frightened. This is the palace of Fran, this is the Plata Pavilion. Vera pointed to these statues and introduced to Colin one by one. In the end, the two of them came to the largest statue in the center of the courtyard. This is the first paladin of the Sanhilder family - Battlefire Lion St. Hilda. Colin looked up at the huge statue of more than 10 meters, and his heart was slightly froze. The pioneers in the north, the tomb diggers of the giant devil, the northern barrier of the empire, this series of glory is the first paladin of the St. Hilda family. Colin easily turned his relevant information from his memory. The territory of more than half of the north was played by the Lane Palace more than 1,000 years ago. More importantly, he completely knocked the backbone of the trunks. Lyle the military advantages and psychological advantages of the northern border to the giant demon empire. Even if more than 1,000 years have passed, the giants can only be on the ice field, and they can no longer return to their ancestral land where their soul dreams. The life story of the paladin has long been sung by the blooming poets thousands of times, but it is still enduring. The reason why the northern people agree with the Santa Hilda family are probably 80% of this is because of this Lane Pavilion. This is why other families never dare to delusion from the Lord of the North. In the north, it can only be guarded by the St. Hilda family. Colin, do you know, actually, I used to want to be a knight. Really? Colin turned to look at the female mage. At this time, she was staring at the statue of the knight, and her face was full of respect. Yes, I was planned when I was on my 10-year-old birthday. I asked my father to help me arrange a baptism, but when I was 6 years old, my father sent me to Yellville to learn Olympic race. Why did the Duke send you to learn Olympic? Colin took the opportunity to ask his doubts. In this world, nobles and masters are naturally not dealt with. A Duke of Villa should not have a relationship with the mage. At that time, my father told me that if you want to know the truth of this world, then you should go to Jevely. Colin frowned. Then do you believe it? Why don't you believe it? That's my father. Colin rolled his eyes, and he was really a little deceived little girl. From the perspective of the old silver coin, the Duke sent Vera to Jevely, in fact, just wanting her to keep her away from the center of power in the north. After becoming a mage, Vera was even more difficult to inherit the Duke. In short, this should be the Duke's preparation for his brother. But obviously, Marquis Garcia still found an opportunity to take advantage of this northern border to let Vera return to the north. Even he has been promised by the Duke. After Charles, Vera will become the first heir of the Duke. But unfortunately, the Duke finally regretted it. I abandoned my promise to my brother. Hate has been from this, and I don't know when it will erupt. So, do you find the truth about the world? No, Wei Pu pursed his lips, his face was firm, but I firmly believe that this road is right, the unremitting pursuit of the truth of the tactics can finally guide me to find the truth of the world. Khalil was trying to tease the naive female mage, but heard the footsteps behind him. Miss Willa, Angle, His Royal Highness's car is about to reach the Lion Roar. Queen. And this chapter is finished. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Original Vampire. Author, Logo Busroot. Chapter 89. Chapter 89 Queen. Colin woke up when he heard Vera's aunt. His Royal Highness of the Glorious Empire is the sister of the Duke of St. Hilda. It is said that when the Queen's His Royal Highness had not married, his beauty was in the north, and countless nobles rushed to her and pursued crazy. However, the most charming flower in the north was finally taken away by His Majesty of the Emperor of the Glorious Empire. The Emperor Madara's wind review in the Empire is very good, noble, and elegant, treating others and kindness, belief in devotion, and a daughter of Her Majesty Emperor, which is a model queen. Callan, let's welcome my aunt. Vero lifted his skirt and took a big step forward. Colin followed up and saw her look like this, and asked curiously, do you have such a close relationship with His Royal Highness of the Queen? Yes, in my heart, my aunt is a perfect lady, my idol. When the two came to the main entrance of the castle, a large number of nobles had gathered here. Even the Duke of St. Hilda came to welcome his sister in person. The sound of the horseshoe has been clearly heard, and immediately, a neat team has gradually appeared in front of everyone. 8 knights in the red whole body armor ride at the forefront of the team. They all arranged a white flame flag in their hands, which was the badge of the imperial royal family, the St. Lorenzo family. Unlike the general aristocratic aristocracy that is generally used as a family badge, the symbol of the imperial royal family is a flame burning. More than 1,000 years ago, this was a humble flame. It swept the entire continent with the trend of Liao Yuan. Essence. A luxury carriage slowly entered the gate of the castle. A knight kicked off the gorgeous golden wooden door on the carriage and greeted a beautiful lady. For a moment, the whole castle seemed to be illuminated by her glory. His Royal Highness. The aristocrats who came to welcome their seats bowed to salute. Colin looked up quietly and looked at the glamorous queen. She was wearing a red low-cut rolling robe, a waterfall-like golden hair scattered on her fair shoulder, and the beautiful eyes of Shui Yingying seemed to be the bottom pond water. The primitive you, who reflects every man's most dare not say to people deeply. Colin quickly lowered his head and didn't dare to look at it again. Brother, you are fat again. The queen's voice was gentle and with a hint of coquettishness, as if she was coquettish with her lover. Ha ha ha, the Duke of St. Hilda laughed and touched his round belly. I can no longer compare with the Duke of the Northern Border, so I have to work hard on weight. The queen pouted and smiled, and looked at Vera behind the Duke. Vera, come here. Vera quickly stepped forward to hold the jade hand that the queen extended, and laughed, "Aunt, you are still so beautiful." When the queen heard the words, she laughed and raised Raula's hair, shook her head and said, "Aunt is old, unlike you, Fenghua Zhenmao. Presumably after this adult ceremony, there will be countless noble men who want to pursue you crazy." In fact, the queen is not very old. It is just 30 and is in the most perfect period of a woman's life. The girl's greenness has not completely faded, but the charm of mature has quietly bloomed. She stood with Vera, not like her aunt, but more like sisters. No Wei La flushed his face, shaking the queen's arm gently. "I don't want to marry someone so early." "Okay, don't marry if you don't want to marry. Let those diligent men spend a few years." The two beauties walked into the castle with a smile. While peeking, Colin secretly lamented that the gene of the Saint Hilda family was so good. In front of the Marquis of Garcia, Queen Madila tilted his head slightly and joked with a smile, "Second brother, do you still don't like to laugh so much?" Garcia's Chuegia pulled the corner of his mouth, and helplessly, "His Royal Highness, I'm already laughing." The Queen shook her head and was helpless about this straight man, so he had to change the topic. "I heard that you have won again recently. The 300,000 trunks have been wiped out. Such a great victory has not appeared in the north for a long time." After hearing it, His Majesty was also very happy, and I ordered me to bring him a reward for you. However, tomorrow will be Vera's adult gift. This reward will be given to you after that. After all, we can't grab the limelight of our little princess. Okay. Marquis in Garcia nodded indifferently. "And, I'm not a princess and I don't worry about being snatched by my uncle." Vera shook the queen's arm shyly and protested. The queen patted Vera's little hand and soothed the coquettish little girl. Then, she glanced at the crowd. Strangely, why didn't you see Charles? The atmosphere was a little stagnant. The Duke of St. Hilda laughed and explained, "Charles is guarding the border. Can't you come back to participate in your sister's adult ceremony?" No. The Duke's voice was as hard as iron. He had to pay the price for his fault. He could not return to the Winter City for a day without breaking through the city of the dead devil. The Queen sighed and turned to look at Adams behind the Duke. "Do you think the father's punishment for your brother is appropriate?" The Marquis Adam immediately straightened his waist and said, "I think my father does this, and it is also for the elder brother. What he needs most at this time is the atonement." The Queen laughed, and the look in her eyes was a bit complicated. I saw her gently raising her hand, brushing Adams's cheeks, and whispered, "Then you have to be careful how powerful you want. You must have a lot of responsibilities." My aunt is assured, I will work hard to do the best, and, as a member of the San Hilda family, I have already prepared any suffering and sharpening. The Queen smiled and turned back to the Duke. "Adams is really the son of your most like you." The Duke also laughed, but did not comment on this sentence. Chuegil heard the praise of the Queen, and suddenly became excited, and his waist pole was quite straight. "Wow, are our Joyce so tall?" The Queen looked at the Duke's youngest son and surprised. "Yes, and welcome to the Lion Roar." Joyce was still a bit restrained. When Madila married into the royal family, Joyce hadn't remembered it, so this beautiful aunt was a little strange to him. The Queen touched Joyce's hair with a smile, and then crossed the San Hilda's family to greet the rest of the nobles. "Thank you for your welcome. As a member of the San Hilda family, I also welcomed everyone to the Lion Roast. I hope you can enjoy a beautiful and happy time here. And witness my niece together. Vera San Hilda's adult ceremony." After saying this, the Queen walked at the forefront with the Duke of St. Hilda and walked to the castle. The Lord is all in Chi. The ceremony is about to begin. This chapter is finished. The Original Vampire. Author, Logo Busroot. Chapter 90. Chapter 90 Adult Gift. "This is the body of the Lord, and it is abandoned for us. You should eat it." In the quiet and solemn church's main hall, the voice of the great bishop was echoing. Vera respectfully took the holy meal, unblied noodle cake, handed in the Grand Bishop and put it in her mouth. "This is the blood of the Lord, and it is for us, you should drink it." The Great Bishop handed to Vera a glass of pure holy water. Wyra drank. Standing in the crowd of viewing, Colin suddenly had some new ideas about these two sentences. Of course, these two prayers have heard of his adult ceremony. The story behind this is familiar with each of the people of each glorious empire. It is said that in the distant 1,000 years ago, human beings were far less strong as they are now. At that time, the human race was not only oppressed by the major aliens, but even the countless demons were still stared at. These demons are greedy for human souls, and through various means, they are fraud, temptation, intimidation, let humans offer their own souls. The human race at that time was shrouded in darkness. Until the appearance of the Lord of Glorious. According to the glorious holy ceremony, he dedicated his body to save the fallen humans. The flesh is a sacred meal, the blood is turned into holy water, and it falls from the sky. Humans who eat the sacred meal and drink the holy water can get rid of the entanglement of the demons and have the sacred power that confronts it. At this point, the people finally embarked on the road of rise. In order to commemorate the sacrifice of the Lord of Glory, there will be such a process of sharing the holy meals on adult rituals hosted by the church. Watching Vera drank the holy water, Colin, who was not good, licked his lips. He thought of the pure holy water that had helped himself to advance, and secretly speculated that wouldn't it really be the blood of the Lord of Glorious? After eating the Lord's meat, drinking the Lord's blood, from then on, the glory will be with you. Lord with me. Nympho. Vera adult ceremony continues. Today's Duke's adopted girl wears a classic and elegant white pear flower dress, and her golden hair is straight on her shoulders. She didn't dress up today, and she didn't have extra jewelry on her body. She just painted light makeup. But even so, it is still suffocating. In addition, she didn't wear shoes. The white jade foot just stepped on the cold marble floor, so, which is loved and distressed. The Great Bishop finally read the prayer, and finally put a thorns on the top of Vera's head. Colin looked at all this and suddenly realized a problem. Vera is a mage, but the adult ceremony of the noble children has always been hosted by the pastor of the glorious church. This seems to be the default. Vera has converted to the glorious church. Of course, the adult ceremony did not clearly require the recipient to be a church believers. But this is because the noble children of the glorious empire have no faith in the Lord of Guanghui. Except as an alien. Oh no, Vera is no longer alien now. After the Battle of Benliu, she had told Colin personally that she converted to the Lord of Glorious. However, she also said that in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, it was temporarily unable to make it public. Therefore, as long as Vera does not take the initiative to admit it, the Mage of Naville is estimated to have a step, which can explain that the adult ceremony of the noble children is only such a form. In this way, Vera's acceptance of adult ceremony does not necessarily mean that the Lord of Guanghui. Unless Javali wants to tear his face with the North, those mage can only think of it first. After the Great Bishop put the thorn's head crown, he bowed and stepped back. Subsequently, Empress Madara stepped forward to send a glorious holy ceremony to Vera. In the end, the Duke of St. Hilda stepped forward and handed a knight sword to Vera. The thorn head crown symbolizes responsibility and dedication. Glory holy classics symbolize wisdom and belief. The knight sword symbolizes courage and strength. At this point, the 18-year-old girl finally completed the transformation and officially opened a new chapter in her life. And witnessing all of this, the first thought in Colin's mind turned out to. After the adult ceremony, you can get married. The ceremony has now ended, and then the long-awaited dinner for the nobles. The dinner will naturally not be held in the main hall of the church. Under the leadership of the Duke of St. Hilda, the crowd left the church and came to the atrium of the Lion Roast. There, the housekeeper had already prepared everything. Food, wine, music, dance floor, in short, the real night has just begun. After the Duke of St. Hilda spoke the opening word, the dinner officially started. Like the banquet of Benjian City last time, many unmarried male nobles immediately stared at the focus of the banquet tonight, Vera. Who can invite her first dance? Many people set their sights on Colin. The last time, the son of this humble baron was invited to Vera, and it was the only one who succeeded. Now, Colin has changed his body and became the VPPC of Angle. It seems that Colin's grasp is even greater. As a result, the male nobles were a little hesitant. Want to look at the movement of Colin first. After all, he is the most hopeful man in the audience to dance with Vera. Colin is still the leisurely attitude, as if he did not realize that a fierce competition had begun quietly. And when the male nobles were stunned, a giant nobleman suddenly stood out. I saw that Prince Akamoto came to Vera, first a standard human aristocratic ceremony, and then said clearly, "Ms. Villa, in order to celebrate your adult ceremony, I specially prepared a small gift for you, I hope you can like it." After speaking, Akamoto took a roll of sheepskin paper from the servant behind him and opened slowly. "That's a map." Colin raised his eyebrows, thinking that this guy would not have to play a picture of the poor dagger. Then he shook his head again and denied his conjecture. Even if the troll really wants to send an assassin, it will not send Akamoto, and the northern prince who is said to be promoted to the sanctuary is almost the same. The map is completely unfolded. No dagger. There are only 3 big red circles. Akamoto pointed to the 3 red circles on the map, and said to Vera, "Miss Villa, my gift is these 3 flags." Colin took a few steps to see the location of the 3 flags. It turned out to be on the southern border of the giant devil kingdom. What does this mean? Give your own line to the enemy? Vera looked at the map with a stunned manner, and was a little confused. With her military literacy, I am afraid that it has not understood what it means. However, the Duke of St. Hilda spoke, "Prince Akamoto, you mean, will these 3 flags be stationed by the Beijing army?" "Yes." At this time, the nobles present realized the valuables of this gift. "No, this is no longer valuable. It is simply a sign of the giant demon in the northward realm. It is as if little Japan sent Hung Tien base to the US military, licked his face and said, 'Dad, hurry up, come and give me a dog chain.' The book is about to be put on the shelves. This chapter is finished.